Hey, so this is a brief video. Just gonna do it because there's all this chatter about the Tommy Robbins situation. Now, I do know that he did violate some sort of statute over there where um, you're not supposed to report directly outside of a courtroom. It's not as here in the U.S. where the reporters they can show footage of a perp walk. Um, and I also know that there are certain legal restrictions in the UK where the government can pretty much issue gag orders and things like that. However, I want to draw a distinction. There are plenty of situations where Robinson himself has been doxxed or been basically accosted in the street by other people who have tried to basically harm him and use his position and I mean physically his position, his address, wherever he is, in order to get back at him for his unpopular opinions. And what I think this really displays is that the UK has become an uncivil society as much as the government tries to control it. I'm not doing this in live stream mode right now because I don't want this to be as super long as it can be. But in their in their misguided attempt to limit the public discourse on this and other topics, they're the UK government is basically facilitating a bigger movement of people who will eventually make them out to look like fools. What Theresa May and the UK government don't understand is that, yes, they do have the support of basically government officials and the establishment of the UK Conservative Party, but that's not actually a popular movement. There's no real public behind that. That would remind me essentially of those people that supported Bob Dole in 1996 here in the U.S. He was somebody who had about 30, 40 years of government experience, and he was well qualified, and he could publicly comment on issues without looking like a total novice or whatever. That was Bob Dole's advantage. His disadvantage was that there was nothing behind him, behind his movement. He was the Senate Majority Leader, and people were basically, nobody looked at him as the real face of an alternative to Bill Clinton. And here you have basically the UK government it's as if Bob Dole was president of the U.S., but obviously in British form. Theresa May was basically selected in 2016 to replace David Cameron, who had lost any public support following the failure of the Remain side in the Brexit vote. So he had nobody who was going to really support him within the framework of the Conservative Party. I mean, there were people who told him to remain, but there was actually no confidence in him. So they had to go to the next best person in their minds, in the minds of the establishment. I think that there was a woman, Andrea Leadsom, who was a real Brexit supporter who was shoved aside by them. They claimed that she insulted Theresa May because she said that she was childless and she couldn't understand what being a woman was about because she wasn't a mother, something like that. It's a pretty funny situation where they were calling her basically calling her a misogynist for saying something about a fellow woman. So they put in Theresa May, who has absolutely she was the Home Secretary before 2016. She was a failed Home Secretary. She allowed all this immigration to come in. To a certain extent, you could say that she was to blame for a lot of the problems that have created this phenomenon called Tommy Robinson to, catch fire again, because previously Tommy Robinson had been a little bit more of a fringe candidate, a fringe leader. In, I think, the 2000s, he was with the English Defense League for a while. And people were people who may never have supported him Suddenly Theresa May, with her ridiculous immigration position, with her stupidity as far as how to handle popular opposition, the new alternative media, people on Twitter, people on Facebook. She's embraced all the principles of censorship in order to make the UK basically a closed society. So, you know, if people can't get together in this moment, I don't know what will bring us together. We're talking about, a person, Tommy Robinson, who has come a long way to becoming really the voice of an alternative in the United Kingdom, an alternative not just based on a certain political philosophy. This is a person who basically says, well, this isn't just a matter of exposing the problems of Islam in the UK or addressing the issue of rape gangs and sexual assault and but really talking about censorship in general, talking about having a free society, talking about having people being able to interact with the communications media to their own satisfaction as opposed to conforming to what the industry dictates to them. That's the importance of Tommy Robinson. And the fact that he's in prison, yes, maybe he violated a statute, but we're talking about somebody who violated a statute in order to report on something that the rest of the media doesn't really care about. The rest of the media will never care about ordinary people getting their lives ruined by rape and grooming gangs. But average people might. People who know other people who have been affected by it might become affected by it, and that's really what they're afraid of. They would rather funnel and filter the conversation in order to promote topics that they find important, rather than address the real underlying problems that have created somebody like Tommy Robinson. And maybe if they would have changed their behavior years ago and addressed this type of abuse, this wouldn't have happened. Instead, the media have gone the other way. They have given Sadiq Khan and as mayor of London, as well as the conservative Home Secretary Amber Rudd, who I think has stepped down. She's been replaced by Sajid Javid, I think. Yeah, who I don't really have much of an opinion on yet. They've let them dictate the conversation, and their whole thing is, oh, we're trying to make the country safer. We're trying to make the country safer. It hasn't become safer. It's become more violent. It's become more divided. This will inevitably hurt the Conservative Party unless they can dump Theresa May. If she gets dumped and they proceed to get somebody else in charge of that party, somebody with a commitment to freedom of speech and an open society where debate is embraced, yeah, the Conservative Party could succeed. If they don't, this Jeremy Corbyn character could become more of a problem. People will see Theresa May as this controlling, abusive figure who doesn't know how to let Britain, discuss its own problems openly without being muzzled. So they might go to somebody like Jeremy Corbyn, who's himself a complete whack job, but who doesn't have the same stigma attached to him. He has other stigmas certainly attached to him, but in some cases they want to censor him as well. Should he be censored? I don't think so. I think the more you hear his bullshit, the more you distrust him. As for Tommy Robinson, the more I hear him out, I think he's become really a voice of an alternative, somebody who can be really, somebody to bring about a change in British society, to bring it more in line with a democracy where, freedom of speech and civil liberties are held at a higher level. Of course, you do have to bring those things into the law. They're not They're not legally encoded now. Freedom of speech is not a legal right in the UK as of right now, and neither is freedom of the press. So we'll see what happens. Please leave your comments below, subscribe, like the video, and share the video, and have a good Sunday.